Okay, welcome back to day 15 and tips for raising your score. So we're going to have several days here, several lessons on ways to raise your score. Now, I know enthusiastically you're looking to raise your score, and what you'll probably want to do is go from lesson to lesson and listen to each one of them, but I think it's extremely important that not only do you listen to each one of those lessons, but you find ways to actually participate in each one of these lessons, and you'll see in each one of these ways that you can raise your score. Some of them you'll think, well, I can't do that, or this seems simple, or whatever the course case is. Uh, Try to look at it at how you can do it. Be positive about it. Some things you might not be able to, but find a way. You need to do everything you can to raise your score. So here's one of the lessons. Don't have an excessive amount of credit. Sounds very simple, right? Well, credit card companies would very much like it if you were to charge up your credit card and pay it off every month, charge it up and pay it off every month. But the credit reporting agencies don't like to see that. Actually, that will cause your credit score to go down. They want to see you only use a small amount of credit or have extra credit on top of it. Okay, so a couple of things. One, keep your credit balance below 25% of the limit. Well, what does that mean? That means if your limit is $1,000 in your credit card, never go over $250 on that card before you pay it off. Some of you have already done that and you're past that. You've gone past that. You owe 700 on it. Well, there's a couple of things you can do. You could spread that debt out over other credit cards by transferring balances to different cards if you have more than one card. If you only have one card and your credit is decent, you may be able to open up another credit card where then you can spread half of that amount over or transfer that over. But what you'd want to see is more available balance. It doesn't mean that one credit card has a zero balance and the other one has 100% of used balance. You want to see it spread out to 50-50. Now, there's all types of rules of thumb. Some say 50%, some say 33%. I'm going to err on caution and say keep it below 25% of your limit if while you are building your credit. Okay. Also, pay the bills every month if you can. Eventually, pay down the bill or pay it off every month. That is an important thing to do. Remember, you have to figure out when the credit companies report to the crediting agency. Now, I pulled up our sample credit report to explain a couple of things here for you. First, if you notice here, it's talking about a Capital One account and what the balance is, what the past due amount is, what the high balance is, what the limit is at this time, what the payment is, when it was opened, and when it is reported. This is the day we're looking at here. When it is reported. Notice the discrepancy and why it's important to keep that low balance down. It reported on 723 to TransUnion. It reported on 724 to Experian, and then it reported on 701 to Equifax. Why is that important to know? That's important to know because they report on different days. Whatever your balance is on that day, and in this case, the balance was $298. That is when it was reported. Obviously, this was the same over each one of the payments. So that's the important thing to know here is when that was reported to the agency. I'll scroll down and show you another card. Here's a Kohl's card. Okay, notice something similar here, right? It reports on the 15th to TransUnion and Experian. Well, the Kohl's is backed by Capital One. And then the Equifax on the 1st of the month. So halfway through the month, it's reporting. Notice it didn't report on the same days. This is the 23rd, the 24th, and the 1st. And on this one, it is the 15th, and the 1st. So don't think for any time that, okay, it's the 1st of the month, I paid off my bill, I can charge it up and then pay it down at the end of the month before they report. They don't always report at the end of the month. So therefore, if they report it in the middle of the month, it shows that you have a full balance there. That's why the key is to always keep that balance below 25% or at no more than 25%. Okay, so back to the spreadsheet. That's why it's important to completely and utterly understand to keep those balances low. Because depending on the credit card, depending on the agency itself, depending on the creditor, they all report at different times. So it's important to keep those balances low because when it comes in that you have a zero balance every time, or it's below 25%, that helps to raise your credit. That's what we mean by spreading that limit out and keeping it below 25% of the limit. Use the credit responsibly. So stop using your credit cards until they're paid. If you're over 25% of the balance and you're at 70% and you paid down now 20% and you're at 50% of your balance, don't use the card again and back up to 70%. Use cash, use something else till you get those balances under 25%. Then use it. You really have to start using the credit responsibly. You even if you don't bring the credit cards with you, that's what a lot of people do. Some people freeze them and put them in a can of water in a microwave. I mean, well, in the microwave, yeah, they don't melt it. Put them in a can of water and freeze them so that when they want to use them, they can't. Because a metal can you can't put in a microwave. I mean, really. You could run it under hot water for a few minutes. I'm sure you could get it out. But the point is, don't bring them with you. All right? That's the key. Stop using them if you can. If you do use them below 25%, short stints, and then stop. Okay? That's one of the major keys. Now, once you've paid them off, use them very lightly. Don't stop using them altogether because it doesn't show any type of responsibility. Think in your mind, if you are the crediting agency, you want to see people use them responsibly, only charge up a couple of purchases, and then pay off that amount, never leaving themselves in an exposed position of having too much debt. So once you've paid to use them, once you paid them off, use them very lightly. Don't get overboard with them, and if you do make large purchases on them, pay those off immediately. Okay? So that's just one thing on your credit cards that you can literally control. And that doesn't mean go out and get 10 more credit cards if you and then spread it out and keep them all under 25%. If you only have one credit card, yes, then go onto the site. Get yourself another card. If you have low credit, we have secured cards that you can get that are accepted. If you have no credit, get a secured card. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you need to do something to start building your credit. All right, thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.